Well, today on the program, 113 House of Reps members demand independent investigation into budget padding scandal. Former state governors accused of restricting saving money in the excess crude account. Aisha Buhari canvasses support for malnourished Northeast children in the IDP camps. And the late Stephen Kesh's burial rites begin today. Joining me to discuss these issues are Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Thanks for coming on the show. And Emeka Madunagu. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
Well, Journalist Hangout starts now. The 2016 budget scandal rocking the House of Representatives may not fade away anytime soon, as 130 members of the House yesterday called for an independent investigation into the allegation against 4 principal officers led by the Speaker, Yakubu Dogara. Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, has also lent his voice, saying whoever is found guilty of padding should be made to face the law. It was not stated which body should preside over the investigation. Who do you suggest, the EFCC or the ICPC? Gentlemen, well, before we answer that question, do you think, I'll start with you, Emeka, do you think that the reps would agree for an investigation, external body come investigate?
Yeah, well, I think I will align with the members of the Transparency Group led by Musa Soba, who have called for an independent investigation. Now, he based that call on the fact that the budget is a national document. It's a document belonging to all Nigerians. So the investigation cannot be restricted to the House of Representatives or the National Assembly, the way the Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, has said that the institution will deal with the matter. Well, I align with that call to the extent that it will give a chance for all sides to the matter to get a fair hearing. But again, it's interesting that the House of Representatives, is willing to cede one of its key functions of oversight to an external body. I mean, that members are calling for such. It's interesting. All
right, Jide, before we come to you, I hear we have Chika Abubakar, a member of the House of Reps, on the line to join us now. Many thanks for joining Journalist Hangouts. Now, you were one of those calling for independent investigation on this budget padding issue. Tell us, what is your reason behind this?
Hello?
Hello, Chika, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
All right, I said you were one of those calling for independent investigation on the budget padding issue. Why are you calling for that?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Actually, why we are calling for an independent investigation is the fact that these are issues that does not concern the whole 360 members of the House of Representatives. This is an issue between Honorable Abdulmumin Jibril and some key officers of House of Representatives. He mentioned Dogara, Right Honorable Speaker. He mentioned the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Lasun, Honorable Dogwa, and Honorable Leo Ogo. These are the key people he has mentioned publicly. He may have others. So my source of concern, or our source of concern under the Transparency Group, is the fact that they are trying to make it a House of Representative issue with Honorable Abdulmumin Jibril. And it is not so. So on no ground that somebody who is the spokesman of National House of Representatives should not speak on behalf of House of Representatives on this issue. Let the key accused speak on the issue themselves or their spokesperson. However, there should be a paradigm shift from the old order. If this has been the tradition, I believe by now we have a revolutionary who is now Abdulmumin Jibril, who has been part of it, and he realized that all he has done is wrong. Even if they say it is because he has been removed, notwithstanding, I believe God can create a revolutionary because of he is being removed from office.
All right, Honorable Chika, if I may cut in there, these are weighty allegations, I must say. And so in whose interests are these investigations going to be?
Yeah, we are speaking on the interest of those who feel equity and justice will be the watchword in National Assembly. And we have over 100 members who have signed our document. But one thing I want to tell every Nigerian and the TVC News to be able to give out to Nigerians out there is the fact that we've started this movement long ago. As every member of National Assembly, I, Abubakar Chika, was the one immediately after passing the budget, I started speaking to the press that this budget has been padded, particularly this 60 billion that the president gave us on the constituency project. It was jacked up to 100 billion. Without our concern, we don't know, it was shared between the key principal officers of both House of Representatives and the Senate. That away, we don't know that actually that was a tip of an iceberg. A lot has happened between the appropriation committee chairs and our leaders. So if that should be, I don't think I have come to National Assembly to rubbish my integrity I built over time. I want to tell you, somebody who is my colleague called me this afternoon and said, look, I am regretting coming to National Assembly. I told him why. He said, I built a reputation in public service up to the level of becoming a permanent secretary. And look at everybody is looking at me and is calling me names, which is not acceptable by me. But I want to thank you, your group, for what you have done to clear the air that it is not all National Assembly members.
All right, Honorable, before we let you go, I'm sure you have questions, Judy Meka, to ask Chika.
Yes,
before he leaves.
Honorable Chika, we are aware really that you've actually championed the discourse, and that is why we are happy to talk to you on a day like this. You've actually been one of the few voices fighting against pardon in the House of Reps, and I congratulate you for the position that you have taken. Now, the question is, in Nigeria, these sort of things happen again and again and again. Why haven't we been able to put an end to this pardon? Because it began a long time ago. It didn't start today. Members, former members of the House of Reps, Nicholas Sugbane and Elumelu, they have been put on trial. Yet, this continues. When are we going to be able to put an end to this rubbish?
I think this is the time. In the past, I don't think we have ever had members of National Assembly who came out to be fighting this budget fighting as it is. Apart from Abdulmuna, I've been bringing out his own kind of revelation. But I want to tell you, we've started signing our document. If anybody you will call and will, even the speaker himself, he saw us on Tuesday, on Wednesday, we have a paper we gave out for signing. We wrote members of National House of Representatives who are against the budget padding of 2016 appropriation. And that is how we got quite a number of people who are willing to participate in the struggle, and they've signed such documents. So it was, as a result of that, Mr. Speaker decided, I think, to sacrifice Abdulmumini Jibril. But despite that, the next day we continue taking our signatures. So I believe this is the time we are ready to make every sacrifice. I repeat, every sacrifice, I repeat, to ensure that budget padding will now be history in Nigerian legislation.
All right,
Yeah, I have two questions for you, Honorable. The first question is that if 113 members have signed, appended their signatures to a document calling for an investigation, now that's about 1/3 of the total numbers of members in the House of Reps. Now, does it mean the 113 of you were on vacation while all of this was going on? Now, the second question I want to ask you is that, well, how far would you be willing to go with this move? Would you be willing to lose your seat if at the end of the day your allegations are found to be unfounded?
Okay. First, the first question, you said 1/3.
It's almost 1/3.
We may be beyond 1/3. There are a lot of like minds who told us they will not sign, but they are with us. Because I think they want to wait and see until the movement becomes stronger, then that is when probably they will now sign or they will align with us so that we can continue with the struggle. And the issue of to every length, I want to tell you, we will subject ourselves for every scrutiny, for every questioning, for every unveiling of what is the real truth about National Assembly. We are available to do that. But one thing I want Nigerians to know, this budget padding that we are talking about, I don't think we need Abdulmumin to produce more documents for you to know that the key accused are guilty. Go and take the budget document. Take the constituency of Mr. Speaker, for example. See how many projects are inserted in his constituency. And ask the executive, are they the ones that put it there? Go to the Deputy Speaker's constituency. Take such budget document. We have it in Abro. I told the president that conducted the press briefing yesterday. I showed them the document. Look at it, and I opened the pages. So I don't think Abdulmumin should produce any document. Let the federal government own up. Yes, he said, and we have seen this document, and we have seen this money inserted. Is it the executive that inserted it? No. They are not. So I don't think this will require any big investigation. It is available at the corridor of every human being. We have the number document. Each and every member has it. Go and take all those key people. Look at their constituency. How much amount of project is in their constituency that they inserted? And then go and pick my own. That is the truth of the matter.
Wow.
All right, Honorable Chika, one last question before I let you go. If you say the key accused are guilty, what then should be the penalty? Should they step aside for this investigation to be carried out successfully?
I didn't hear you. Please repeat the question.
I said, if you say the key accused are guilty, what would you suggest as penalty for this? Should they step aside for investigations to be carried out successfully?
Look, the truth of the matter, they don't have the credibility to lead us again. I think they should be honorable enough to reconvene the House and then resign. We cannot call the House to reconvene, but Mr. Speaker has the right, and if he is a honorable man, a honorable person, I believe by now he should think of reconvening the House so that they can step aside or resign their appointment for proper investigation by all the anti-crime agencies.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Chika Abubakar, for your time on Journalist Hangout. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm always available for you anytime on this issue.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, Jide, Emeka, you just heard Honorable Chika Abubakar there telling us a whole lot. I mean, I need your reactions. I'll start with you, Jide.
Yeah, I think that it's shaping up to be a big scandal now. And I don't think it's in the place of Yakubu Dogara, the speaker, to be issuing threats of court action. I think those threats amount to empty gas at this time. This is a big scandal, and if we are really serious as a nation, the investigative organs should go to work, arrest the people concerned because they do not have immunity, arrest them, and let Nigerians see for once that we want to fight corruption, no matter the good efforts of the president. If big people in our country are not made to pay for corruption, the ordinary people like you and I will not take the corruption fight seriously. So if Dogara and co are guilty, I expect that they should, the punishment that they deserve should be visited on them, just as former head of state, Yakubu Gowon, suggested, this is really scary. When I read that it's even up to 480-something billion that we are talking about now, I said, wow. Initially, we thought it was just 284 billion. And now, just as Chika said, the earlier revelation was a tip of the iceberg. So it's a lot bigger than we envisaged. And this should not be allowed to continue. What I heard was that the way these people execute this coup against the Nigerian people is the committees start to work on the budget. Later on, the committees will submit the work, what they have done. They will submit it to the appropriation committee. The appropriation committee works on it, and then to the committee of the House. The appropriation committee lays the budget document before them. Just before it gets submitted to the president, that is when the entire pardon takes place, which means that more than 3/4 of the members of the House of Reps or Senate, as the case may be, are usually unaware. You just discover that the budget, so it's just a small fraction of the people that actually execute this whole pardon business. You will see that he was talking about, Jubrin was talking about the fact that only out of 96 standing committees of the House of Reps, only about 20 committees actually were aware of this whole pardon thing or participated actively in this whole pardon thing. So I'm not surprised that they are already getting signatures, because a lot of the members of the House of Reps will feel shortchanged. Yeah. They will feel snookered, if I'm permitted to use that word, that this has taken place behind their back. And it is true that Chika had been making a lot of noise that, look, this budget, beyond what the president says and all that, we thought, okay, this was sorted out. But Chika had been saying that a lot of pardon went into that budget, but nobody seemed to listen until they were going to make a scapegoat out of Jubrin, and Jubrin vowed that he was not going to go down alone. So that's why this whole thing, if they had not moved against Jubrin, maybe by now you and I would not know that we have a gargantuan scandal in the House of Reps.
All right, now let me come to you, Emeka. So which body do you think can handle this, investigate this matter thoroughly? EFCC or who? Which body?
First of all, I would like to say that I won't blame the National Assembly alone. I'll blame the executive more. It took so much time putting this budget together, and then in putting the budget together, a lot of lapses were observed. Of course, we are aware of how the Minister of Transport, was given a chance to submit the details for Lagos to Calabar Rail after the budget had been submitted. Then we also have the example of the Minister of Health, Professor Adewale, who came to the defense and said he couldn't defend the figures. In fact, President Buhari said that was even the first time he heard about pardon. So definitely what it shows is that there's a lot of tardiness in the budget preparation process in our country. And it's unfortunate, 17 years after the return of democracy, we're still dealing with such issues as preparing the national budget. And we know for years Nigerians have been calling for asking government to take time, start early to prepare the budget. Because if you have to rush the budget to the National Assembly, and you expect National Assembly to quickly pass the budget, what is going to happen is what you have right now. Don't forget the fact again. Go through the budget. I took my time to go through the budget. There are some areas that are not explained. You just have figures and then some funny
we need to quickly wrap up this topic. Okay. So we need to know which of the bodies do you think?
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. You see, don't forget, the National Assembly has oversight functions. So if it has to be investigated, then also the role of the executive, it has to be investigated as well. So what are we talking about? If you say the EFCC, in fact, I think if you say EFCC and ICPC, both of them are investigative bodies. But they're already overburdened with a lot of investigations. So what I'm trying to talk about is I want to go beyond just investigation. the budget system must be thoroughly overhauled. If not, 10 years down the line, we are still going to keep having this kind of embarrassing situation. We should not just go, okay, arrest people, put them on trial, jail them, or remove people, or they resign. We must do something about the budget. It's an embarrassment to the world that the biggest, largest economy in Africa, we cannot handle a simple thing as drawing up a budget for the nation. The entire system, the executive and the legislature must sit down together and put an end to this embarrassment. However they want to investigate themselves, that's their business. All
right. When we return, former state governors accused of opposing excess crude accounts. Stay with us. You're watching Journalist Hangout. Remember that we will be going off the entertainment platform, but we will continue on DSTV channel 418. Now to the next topic. A former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Tunde Lemo, yesterday revealed that former governors were opposed to federal government's decision to save excess crude revenue. Mr. Lemo noted that past state governors on several occasions manipulated the executive, insisting that revenue accruing from oil should be immediately shared among states instead of saving it in excess crude account initiated by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Now, according to Lemo, the governors opposed it so that more money could be available to fund many bogus budgets at state levels, often arguing that there was no need for saving for the rainy day. This sounds like an unbelievable allegation. Could it be true, Emeka?
It was clear to the whole world. Now, we know the governors who spearheaded it. We know how people were just going all over the place, trying to frustrate President Jonathan's move to set up the Sovereign Wealth Fund and all kinds of things. It's also tied to this budget issue, a situation where we don't work in the interest of the nation. Everybody's just there to get a slice of the national cake, and life goes on. So what Mr. Lemo said was just stating the obvious. But of course, if you go into his lecture, he actually held a lecture at Foursquare Gospel Church, and he was talking about restructuring the entire fiscal process, diversifying the economy. He talked about putting checks and balances. He spoke like somebody who had really been in the system. Well, we're at a stage right now where we're in a recession. So what he calls for is that he gives us a chance right now to begin to think about the future. And now not to think that the future can be postponed. The future is even now. Yes. So we must begin to think of how to avoid things like this happening, whereby we have an open-ended excess crude account. I think that, I think in the next constitutional review, National Assembly should actually be serious. It should sit up and be serious with constitutional review. What they've done since 1999 to now has just been a joke, mainly taking care of trivial issues. The last constitutional review was a disaster. Nothing came out of it. So what they need to do right now is that they need to look at the fact that, fine, when we have an excess crude account, because no doubt funds will even be going into it. Remember, the benchmark currently is $38, and oil has gone up to as high as 43, 45, so that is excess. Now, what needs to be done is that the president, the governors, and the National Assembly need to sit together at the conference and decide that, okay, a certain portion of this excess crude should be moved to a sovereign wealth fund. Now, that will require a constitutional amendment. Yes, an amendment to Section 162, talking about the federation account. Now, that some money should be moved in, and then that we should now begin to reduce recurrent expenditure. Mr. Lemo mentioned that too, over-bloated workforce. We should now begin to reduce recurrent expenditure, do away with some of these presidential jets, some of these excessive, some of these luxuries that we don't need, even if we're not in a recession. Basically. Even if we're not in a recession, the government needs to really cut costs and then encourage growth, encourage industries, encourage
diversification,
yes,
and the like.
Yes, encourage the reset of the
let's come to you, Jide. Really, it's still some sort of is a shock to me that governors can twist the executive to say there is no need to save for the rainy day. I mean, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the reality is the Constitution actually says that all funds accruing to the federal government must be shared between all the federating units. And this was what they capitalized on. And some of them actually went to court. Some, like the former governor of Lagos State even said that, well, that there is so much infrastructure deficit that there was no need for us to save when our infrastructure, when we have serious infrastructure deficit. So they went to court, really, that look, don't save. The Constitution says we must share all the money. So, but it's strange, really, that people with the exposure, the supposed exposure that these former governors had, people who go abroad and who know what happened in other countries, who stop Nigeria from saving, who oppose saving. Now we find ourselves in dire straits. We don't have the cushion. Nothing. We are not in a healthy position like some years back when our SS crude account was huge, and then the foreign reserves was big. So the struggle that the Naira is going through now, we could actually have remedied the situation if we had saved a lot of money. The situation that we find ourselves is that the foreign reserves have been so badly depleted by the unfortunate economic situation that we find ourselves, such that if we are not careful, we can't even handle exports for more than 6 months on the bounce, because we really do not have enough. And you can see manufacturing companies struggling, they're laying off staff because of lack of access to foreign exchange. The currency is struggling. If you see, the strength of your currency has a lot to do with the size of your foreign reserves. But they left us in a situation in which we couldn't just help ourselves. And the former CBN governor also said that, look, he told political leaders in Nigeria that a day like this will come. But they didn't listen. And just as Lemo said, when they told them that, look, let's say for the rainy day, they said, no, the day is already raining.
Yeah.
That was a very responsible way to approach this kind of thing. If you know how much countries like Norway have saved in the sovereign wealth fund, even countries that we normally see as backstreet countries, Kazakhstan, small countries, they all have saved money. It's only in Nigeria that our governors think that whatever comes, they must share. And what do they really do with this money? A lot of the projects are not beneficial to our people. So it's unfortunate that we find ourselves here, and the people who ensure that we didn't save, and with the asinine argument that no, and that they were not sure that if we saved, that the money won't be stolen and all that. They are there now, and all of us are suffering from the effect of not preparing for a day like this. We are not the only oil-producing nation in the world.
Of course.
Saudi Arabia, but they had hefty savings. Even China has saved sufficiently from its trade surplus. It's only in Nigeria that some people who claim that they went to school will come and tell us that there's no need to save money. I've never had anything like that, and I'm really ashamed of the people who pushed up to the point that we couldn't save. And that's why you need a strong president. President Jonathan was too weak for these people. Every time they harassed him, he found a way to make money available. I don't think that anybody could have done that to Yaradua, for example, because our foreign reserves improved significantly under Yaradua. Obasanjo did his best, but Yaradua went ahead. But under Jonathan, they were harassing the man, and they made sure that we didn't save for the rainy day. So it's terrible.
All right. Tunde Lemo came out with some of the things you were trying to discuss earlier. And one of the things he was talking about was lifestyle changes, investment in infrastructure, having diversification, restructuring, and all of that. Now, how do we go about this successfully to looking at the situation we have found ourselves in? With the way things are, how do we carry out this successfully?
Yeah, the way to go about it is just by taking the right steps, like he has said, to make sure that we change things. That's why I say President Buhari should really sit down and draw up a new set of priorities. He's a welfarist politician, but the situation on the ground right now, makes it difficult for him to carry out the welfarist agenda. Now you find out that even the IMF is strongly in the system, and you have a president who is welfarist, but you also have people around him who are not giving to that line of thinking. So basically, what needs to be done is the fact that, like Mr. Lemon said, lifestyle changes. There must be certain cuts here and there. It's not like what the banks did, sacking the shop floor staff and leaving the big men to continue to enjoy good money. What you need to do is to, do a lot of restructuring in the system, in the fiscal system. And then, again, we have to look at the fact that Nigeria as it is right now, we need to rebuild our foreign reserves. We need a sovereign wealth fund. And then again, it's the same governors who have been talking about bailouts. They've got 2 bailouts now. I don't know if they're on the 3rd one right now. And don't forget, these governors are smart politicians. Now you're talking of them, you are not asking how they will pay off the bailouts. Very simple. You have the excess crude fund. If one thing or the other happens and price of oil goes to $60 or $70, what are you talking about? Pronto, you pay off the one they are owing and you give us the change. We go home. It's the same cycle. It's the same cycle. So with all that President Buhari can do, his best efforts, he also has to have good advisors to really tutor him and guide him on the wiles of Nigerian politicians. Nigerian politicians are very clever. They can move far ahead of you, even with your best intentions. I don't totally blame President Jonathan, because don't forget, governors were in court with President Obasanjo on deductions for debts. Remember the case of Lagos State, concerning deductions for power. I think it was the Enron project, and how it pitched Lagos against the federal government. So going on to that,
even for police.
Yeah, fine. Those Argon jeeps. Remember the 1,000?
No.
Was it?
The federal government came up with the idea of, making deductions from states' accounts to fund the police to buy equipment and all that.
Yes, okay.
But Lagos State went to court.
So you see all of those things. Now President Jonathan found himself in the middle of a serious crisis. Why? He couldn't violate the Constitution because Section 162 of the Constitution said all funds must be paid into the federation account and shared. And now the people who really spearheaded this thing were very smart lawyers, smart politicians.
If they had sustained that case, they would have won.
They would have. That was what he was trying to avoid. So if they had sustained the case and the Supreme Court said, you must give them their money. In fact, it would even have put President Buhari in a more difficult situation. So don't forget, that matter is still hanging. So at the right time, they will bring it up against President Buhari. So he himself has to save himself from embarrassment by moving ahead to make sure that that case is, if it's still hanging somewhere, it should be settled amicably, removed from court, and then they should start the process of constitutional review. Let that sovereign wealth fund find its way into the Constitution. Let us
that obscene portion of the Constitution that says that everything that we earn must be shared.
Must be shared.
It has to be expunged.
Section 162.
It has to be expunged from the Constitution. That's why I said that some of the people who sat down to write this Constitution didn't have the interests of Nigerians at heart. Because how can you have a country where to save money is seen as something that is odd? It's really
the former
strange.
finance minister came, alarm about savings.
Quickly, we have Adamu from Benue State. Adamu, are you there? Go ahead with your contribution. Adamu, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Very good evening.
Good evening.
How is work today?
Thank you.
Yeah, we thank God. Babajide Panaju.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Last year, lawyer Alika.
So, go there.
Emeka, you two have been truly appreciating your contribution.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Veronica, before I say my contribution, I want to at least ask for more participatory time for us, the callers. Ask producers to give us little time. They don't give us time. We'll be watching till the end of the whole thing. So we are asking and begging, please, they should give us little time to participate. And my contribution will be on the previous topic before discussed concerning the target. Right now, Jibrin is in between fire and the Red Sea. We are urging him to go ahead and reveal to the whole world the real happening of what is here in the National Assembly. This whole thing is our prayer that is catching up with them. Before, we used to respect lower parts of the National Assembly, thinking that they are a little bit okay compared to the recent trend of senators we have. But now the whole thing is up and up. We discover even more dangerous than the Senate. We will keep praying. God will help Buhari, and with time, this whole thing will open. It's now left for us, the electorate, to know who to choose as send in the next assembly. And by His grace, Nigerians are following this. We are going to follow to the end, and we are going to tell the proper people when it's 219. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, Adamu, for your contribution. Quickly, your last take on this.
I was saying that. I was saying that the former Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, there was a time she raised the alarm that Nigeria needed to save and all that, but that came at the wrong time because already the federal government was borrowing to pay salaries. So the cardinal objective of the current finance minister should be that no matter the fact that we're in a recession, we must still find a way to save. Otherwise, the governors will be counting every extra dollar made above the budget benchmark. And when they will strike in a very smart way that will leave President Buhari with no option but to accede to them.
Jide, your last take on this topic before we move on.
Well, I hope that we will learn our lesson someday. Up to now, many Nigerians are still blaming the president, the former president, rather than blame their governors for the role that they played. One thing is certain. The people who have been commenting on this thing, they can't all be wrong. The former CBN governor commented that the governors oppose savings. Tunde Lemon has also come out to say, yeah, this is what they did. Now, how long will it take us to believe that this was what happened? The people went to court. They said, no, the law says you must share. But we are in this state now. Many times when they ask for money, it's all just because they want to use it for politics. I remember the first time they pipe pressure on Jonathan to share excess crude. We were approaching an election. I think the 2011 election, we were just a few weeks to the election. They needed money for the election because a lot of this money that they even, public funds, get set aside to pursue political aspirations. We know that in an election year, we know that many governors don't work. They do very little because they set aside a huge chunk of public fund to fund campaigns. Where do they get the money that they spend erecting those banners all over the place? It's very shameful that we cannot save as a country. It's very shameful.
All right, moving on now to the next topic. Wife of the President, Aisha Buhari, is canvassing support for the malnourished Northeast children who are caught in the web of the ongoing war against terror. The nation's attention was drawn to the threat of malnutrition with the reported death of more than 200 persons at the internally displaced persons camps in Borno State. Mrs. Buhari said all Nigerians should get enlisted in the fight against malnutrition in the country. She made this appeal on Tuesday during the distribution of relief materials to 1,500 family members of the IDPs in Maiduguri. Gentlemen, your take on this laudable move by the wife of the president?
Yeah, very good move, very good. But I think what I'll just quickly say is that, like a friend said earlier, the since the president moved the command center, in the fight against insurgency to Maiduguri, he should also move the command center for distribution of IDP relief to Maiduguri. It should not come from Abuja. Everything, NEMA, whatever agencies, all those things, all those agencies, whatever they're doing, they should congregate in Maiduguri and reach the people directly. And every effort must be made to ensure that these people don't remain as IDPs. I said it on this program before that there could be an arrangement to temporarily resettle them in other states or the Federation, in some other places, even in the north, because a lot of these people are farmers. So if you resettle them in some other states, where you don't have threats of Boko Haram violence, just like the people of Bakassi were resettled. If you resettle them in some of these places, they can actually go back to farming, they can get their lives back. Then when their communities are safe enough, at least, to an appreciable level for them to return, you can now take them back to their communities. But they should not remain in camps like people who have no future, who are hopeless. And the tag of an IDP is not an easy thing. These people should get their lives back as quickly as possible.
Judy.
I think that one of the things that the president should do quickly is to get the Minister of Agric to release grains from the Strategic Grains Reserve of Nigeria to be sent to the IDPs, because clearly a lot of these IDPs are starving. And it's not enough. The president's wife has done a lot. I remember when she made that donation of I think 130 million to IDPs in Adamawa State. Some people raised hell. But they must know that people are suffering and they need to be catered for. So the release of grains from the Strategic Grains Reserve of the country will go a long way in reducing the pains that these people are going through. You've seen pictures. The whole world, the attention of the world is on Nigeria, especially malnourished children, not just in Borno State, but in the other IDP camps. We never knew this problem was this grave until the Medicine Sans Frontiers guys came to Nigeria. So something must be done quickly, and I don't think that it is only the Dangotes of this world who have got money to spend. Dangote has spent so much money on these IDPs. There are other Nigerians whom God has blessed, who should now join the effort to ensure that these people do not starve to death. That's the message from the president's wife, because he's saying so that more people do not die. We should all jump in and ensure that we save these people. Then, of course, the issue of transparency. A lot of what ought to go to these people gets stolen.
Yes, I was going to go to that.
So we need to do something quickly. The Borno State governor especially must find a way to stop the blatant stealing of food meant for IDPs. In fact, I learned that even firewood that are supposed to be used in the camps get stolen.
Stolen, and the bags of food.
Yes, they rebag rice bags meant for IDPs, because you have NEMA embossed on the bag. So they rebag it and sell in the open market. Not only that, some grains, when they cook grains in the piece, when they cook, they make sure that they do not cook sufficiently. So when they do not cook sufficiently, some of the food gets rejected by the IDPs. What is rejected is then dried and sold to people who have livestock. And all so there's a lot of corruption in our countries. It's like we are cursed.
It's more wickedness.
That we can go to the extent of even denying IDPs food,
people
just so that we can make money.
Debt.
Just so that we can make more money. It's really bestial. It shows that there is so much of wickedness in Nigeria.
Ask that question, because I know that the UN has said that it has spent about 3.7 billion naira on the IDPs. So why should we?
Lot of the money
and many other, well-meaning Nigerians have contributed for these people. So it's mind-boggling to see that they are going through acute malnutrition.
Yes, you heard what happened at the government house in Maiduguri, where soldiers and the policemen exchanged gunfire over bags of rice meant for IDPs. So if this is happening, some people are stealing what the IDPs need to eat. So why won't they starve? They need to eat protein at every time that you give them maybe rice. They need to eat meat and all that. But we've seen rations being served in the IDP camps without meat, without any form of protein. Because some people have made a habit of stealing. Some civil servants have become millionaires, multi-millionaires from the food that is meant, food and other materials meant for these people. And in some cases, like it happened in Adamawa State, even expired milk was sent to the IDP camp.
Wow.
So it's terrible. I don't understand. I think the president needs to visit Maiduguri, visit some of those camps and see things for himself. Because it's not all the time that you can rely on what you are told. Sometimes you need to physically. It's just like a governor inspecting projects at midnight. Because the agency that is supposed to report to you could actually be compromised. So some governors actually go at midnight to look at projects, ongoing projects. I know that the current Lagos governor does that. In fact, on a particular day, hoodlums on Lagos Island opened fire on his convoy because it was around 12 or 1 a.m. that it was moving around. So the president needs to go down and to Maiduguri and see the extent of the sufferings of these people. Maybe that will propel him to now take a definitive decision that will solve this problem.
All right, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, the vice president, of course, don't forget, the vice president has been to Maiduguri. The Senate president, Bukola Saraki, has been to Maiduguri. Even the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has been there. And for the president to go there, unless the president will sneak into Maiduguri unannounced, because if he makes any plan to visit Maiduguri, you will be sure that so many things will be corrected. A lot of the wrong things will disappear.
If the notice is not long, they cannot do. There are many IDP camps in Maiduguri, for example. There are more than a million people, or even 2 million. You know, if the notice of his visit is short, he will descend on that place. He's not going to travel by road. He will descend on Maiduguri before they even know that.
Even at dawn, they can get there 6 a.m.
Before they know that
5 a.m.
We have a caller on the line. Collins from Abuja. Are you there? Go ahead with your contribution. Collins, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Babajide and Emeka.
Good evening, Collins.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
We thank you too.
I want to speak on the first issue you raised, which was the issue of padding.
Okay.
And I want to say that you're asking the question of which agency of the government should do the investigation. I think the best thing to do is for us to raise a judiciary panel of inquiry made up of eminent jurists who will do a kind of inquiry into this whole thing and come up with a paper that will be able to limit police going back and forth and going to bail and going to court to get grant freedom from custody and all those stuff. With that, we'll have enough time to get to the truth. And if we're using experienced judges to handle this kind of issue, they know the right question and know what exactly to expect. And that will help us understand the whole thing before we begin to hold somebody and incarcerate somebody and face another level of propaganda of whether it is victimization or somebody trying to remove somebody from office.
Thank you for your contribution. Quickly, gentlemen, let's move to the final topic. Now, the final journey of Nigerian football legend and former Super Eagles handler Stephen Keshi began in Benin City, Edo State today. The NFF delegation to the final rite is led by its president, Mr. Amaju Melvin Pinnick. The event began with a service at the St. Paul's Catholic Church. His body will lie in state at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, from where it will be moved to Asaba for another lying in state before his interment on Friday. Now, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Emeka. What is your favorite Stephen Keshi moment?
It's difficult because Stephen Keshi was an interesting personality, someone that I had followed many years. You know, in his formative years, and then up to the point where he was a coach. And he had a controversial tenure as a coach, but again, he did his best. And for me, his attitude to work was quite impressive, but he didn't take the job as if he didn't have it at any point, it was no longer there, heavens will fall. You know. So for me, the fact that Keshi led Nigerian team, you know, that won Nations Cup in 1994, and then he came back again as coach. Repeated that feat. That to me is a big plus for him, and he will always be remembered by Nigerians for his selfless dedication to duty. Unfortunately, our football administration has been beset by politics. There's so much politicking, and one of Simikashi's successors, Sunday Elise, added a bizarre angle to it by saying there are some funny things that happen in football administration. So what I think needs to happen is that, you know, they should accord the memory of Stephen Keshi such respect by, you know, trying to change a lot of things that are wrong with football administration. He was such a fine gentleman, and I really commiserate with the family.
Judy?
Well, my favorite Stephen Keshi moment was the World Cup qualifier between Nigeria and Algeria. We had beaten Algeria 3-0 to win the 1980 Nations Cup with 2 goals from Segun Odegwami and another goal from Dalawal. But Christian Chukwu, who captained Nigeria to win that Nations Cup, the first time Nigeria will win the Nations Cup, quit the national team shortly after the final of the competition. Now, because he was so successful in the national team, there was so much pressure that he had to be brought back. So we brought Chukwu back to the national team, but Chukwu was no longer as fit as he used to be. So the same Algerian team that we had beaten 3-0 in the final of the Nations Cup came to Lagos and beat us 2-0. And the fault for Chukwu was blamed for those goals because he was slow to respond to the athleticism of Rabamaja and Lakda Belumi. So Keshi was on the bench and he was called in the second half to take over from Chukwu. And merely Keshi came in, he blocked the areas that were leaking in the defense line of the Eagles, and he held that position so well that by the time Adegboye Onigbinde became the coach of the national team, later, less than 2 years after that particular match, he made Keshi the captain of his team. And he went to the 1982 Nations Cup finals in Libya with Keshi as the coach. And Keshi did well in that competition. He gave a good account of himself. That was the beginning of his ascendancy as a leader in the Nigerian national team. And he served his country diligently in a very honest manner. If you've read some of what people like Peter Rufai said about him, he gave his all for his country, he sacrificed for his country. And I believe that no honor is too little to do for Keshi. I saw the picture of the stadium named after him in Delta State, and I was really ashamed because it's a disused stadium in a very decrepit state. That is not what we should honor a national hero like Chukwu, because in the history of Nigeria, the best coach that we've ever had is Clemens Westerhoff. But what Westerhoff achieved for Nigeria, Keshi also equaled. So as an indigenous coach, he's the best indigenous coach that the national team of Nigeria has ever had. So to go and name a decrepit and disused stadium after him, I don't think is right. It is a bigger and much more dignifying national edifice that should actually be named after him.
Well, gentlemen, that's the show for today. Thanks for coming on the show. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another exciting episode. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Veronica Onichi. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.